Beneath your feet right now, an ancient ocean sleeps, not beneath the sea, beneath the sand. The largest desert on Earth holds a secret so profound it rewrites everything we thought we knew about time, civilization, and the planet itself. 11,000 years ago, the Sahara Desert didn't exist. In its place, a world of endless green. Hippos wallowed in crystal lakes. Giraffes grazed beneath towering acacias. Elephants roamed through forests where now only scorpions survive. And humans built something extraordinary in the sand. Something older than the pyramids, older than Stonehenge, older than written history itself. This is the story of paradise lost, of water that vanished, of people who refused to leave, and of stone circles that whisper secrets to the stars. Close your eyes. Imagine standing on a grassy plain. The air is thick and humid, heavy with moisture. Behind you, the gentle lap of water against a shoreline stretches into the distance. Before you, forests reach toward the horizon, their canopy alive with birdsong and the rustle of leaves in the monsoon wind. This was the African humid period, a window of time when the Sahara bloomed like a garden suspended between worlds. Monsoon rains swept north from the equator, transforming 9 million square kilometers of sand into savanna. Lake Chad swelled to the size of the Caspian Sea, its waters so vast you couldn't see the opposite shore. Rivers carved through landscapes that today know only dust and death. Crocodiles basked on muddy banks. Fish spawned in shallow pools that would remain full for generations. The evidence is everywhere if you know where to look. Ancient rock art shows us their world. Paintings of cattle and antelope, of hunters with bows drawn taut, of dancers and ceremonies beneath trees that haven't existed here for 10,000 years. The artists captured everything. Mothers nursing children, warriors preparing for hunts, communal feasts beneath starlit skies. These weren't primitive scribbles, they were memories carved in stone. A civilization preserving itself for eternity. The Sahara remembered water. The sand remembers green. The rocks remember life. But memory isn't the same as truth. And truth, buried beneath the dunes, tells a darker story. The story of how paradise dies, not with violence, not with war, but with silence, as the rains simply stop falling. 6,000 years ago, something shifted in the heavens. The rains began to fail, not all at once. Nature is crueler than that, more patient in its destructions. Slowly, over centuries, the monsoons weakened. Lakes shrank to ponds, their shores marked by rings of salt and dead fish. Ponds became mud, cracking under the relentless sun. Mud became dust, and dust became the desert that now sprawls across a third of Africa. A wound on the face of the earth, visible from space. But why? What could transform an entire continent? The answer lies not in the sand, but in the stars, in the mathematics of planetary motion, in forces so vast and slow, they operate on timescales beyond human comprehension. Earth doesn't orbit the sun in a perfect circle, it wobbles. Our planet tilts and sways like a spinning top winding down, and these orbital variations change where sunlight falls. When seasons arrive, how much heat reaches different latitudes. Scientists call them Milankovitch cycles, named for the mathematician who first decoded their rhythm. 23,000 years ago, Earth's axis was tilted differently than today. Northern Africa received more summer sun, more heat, more energy. That heat pulled monsoons northward from the tropics like a magnet drawing water across the land. The Sahara drank deep and grew green, but as our planet's wobble shifted, as it always does, as it always will, so did the rain. The monsoons retreated south, following the sun's new path. The green turned brown. Rivers dried to trickles, then to nothing. Trees withered. Grass became straw, and an entire ecosystem, a paradise that had endured for thousands of years, simply evaporated. Yet some say there's more to this story. Some believe we didn't just witness the death of the Green Sahara. We caused it. Humans had arrived with their herds, goats and cattle by the thousands, grazing the grasslands bare. Every blade of grass consumed, every seedling trampled before it could take root. Trees fell to axes, their wood needed for fires, for shelters, for the simple business of survival. Roots that held soil gave way, and overgrazing turned grassland to dust that blew away on the wind, never to return. Could our ancestors have accelerated their own exile from Eden? Could they have pushed a wounded ecosystem past the point of recovery? The debate rages on in academic journals and archaeological camps. But one thing is certain: as the water vanished, those who remained faced a choice: adapt or die, leave or innovate. Some left, migrating to the Nile Valley, to the Mediterranean coast, to anywhere water still flowed. Others stayed, and what they did next defies imagination. Deep beneath the Sahara lies a secret ocean, fossil water, trapped in aquifers since the age when dinosaurs walked the earth. Water that fell as rain hundreds of thousands of years ago, now locked in a porous stone, waiting in darkness. The Garamantes discovered it, and they learned to mine it. While Rome rose and fell, while empires battled for control of the Mediterranean, while Alexander conquered and Caesar ruled, the Garamantes were doing something extraordinary in the heart of the desert. They were extracting the past, drinking prehistory, surviving on the ghosts of ancient rains, using a system called fogaras, underground tunnels that stretched for kilometers beneath the sand. They tapped into these ancient aquifers, hand-carved channels, some descending 40 meters below the surface, carried fossil water to their cities. Thousands of kilometers of tunnels, all dug with simple tools, all maintained generation after generation by engineers who never saw sunlight during their shifts. The engineering is staggering. Each fogara required precise gradients, too steep and water flows too fast, eroding the channels. Too shallow and it stagnates, becomes stale. They calculated angles in an age before protractors. They measured distances in darkness. They built an invisible infrastructure that sustained tens of thousands of people in the dead heart of the Sahara. In a landscape where nothing should survive, they built an oasis civilization that thrived for over 1,000 years. They traded with Rome, with Egypt, with kingdoms across the Mediterranean. They grew date palms and wheat. They raised children who knew nothing but desert, but lived lives of relative abundance. But fossil water isn't renewable. Once it's gone forever. The Garamantes knew this, perhaps. Or perhaps they believed the water would last eternally, as we often do, with resources that seem infinite until suddenly they're not. Eventually, the wells ran dry. The fogaras collapsed, their tunnels filling with sand. And the desert reclaimed their cities, burying them beneath dunes like tombstones, marking a vanished dream. Yet before they disappeared, before the Green Sahara became myth, before the last fogaras fell silent, someone else, someone earlier, left a message, carved not in words, but in stone. Not for their children, but for the cosmos itself. In the Egyptian desert, west of the Nile, in a place so remote that even Bedouins avoid it, there stands a circle of stones. They don't look like much. Rough megaliths barely taller than a person, weathered by 7,000 years of sandstorms, arranged in patterns that seem almost random to the untrained eye. Tourists flock to Stonehenge by the thousands. Archaeologists debate the pyramids endlessly. But Nabta Playa? Most have never heard its name. Yet this circle is older than them all, older than civilization itself. 7,000 years ago, 3,000 years before Stonehenge, 2,000 years before the first pyramid, before Mesopotamia invented writing, before anyone built anything we recognize as a city, someone dragged these stones across the desert and arranged them with mathematical precision. Not randomly, not ceremonially, but astronomically. The stones align with the summer solstice sunrise with an accuracy that shouldn't be possible. They track the stars of Orion's belt as they appeared in that ancient sky. Some researchers believe they even mark the brightest stars visible from this latitude during the era of their construction. A star map frozen in stone. A calendar built to last forever. This was humanity's first observatory, built by nomadic herders who followed the rains and the grass. Built in an era before writing, before cities, before any of the civilizations we call ancient. Built when the Sahara was still green, when the people who arranged these stones could still hear water lapping at distant shores. Who were they? What did they know? Why did they need to track the stars with such precision? Perhaps they saw what was coming. Perhaps they watched the rains fail year after year, watched their paradise dry up season by season, and turned to the sky for answers or warnings. Perhaps they were trying to predict when the rains would return. Perhaps they were marking time itself, creating a monument that would outlast their civilization. Or perhaps they understood something we've forgotten, something about cycles, about time, about the patience required to watch worlds change. Nabta Playa isn't alone. Across the world, we're finding similar structures, all challenging our assumptions about when humanity began to think cosmologically. Stone circles in Turkey, older than agriculture. Megalithic temples in Malta that predate the pyramids by 1,000 years. Calendar sites in Peru, in China, in islands, scattered across oceans our ancestors supposedly couldn't cross. All built by people we call primitive. All demonstrating astronomical knowledge that shouldn't exist yet. All whispering the same question: what did our ancestors know that we've forgotten? The Sahara remembers everything. Beneath the sand lie the bones of crocodiles that once swam in lakes, now dry for 6,000 years. Beneath the dunes rest the ruins of cities, built by people who refused to accept defeat, who mined ancient water from stone until the wells ran dry and the desert won. Beneath the dust stands a stone circle older than civilization itself, still pointing at stars that have wheeled across the sky for 70 centuries. Paradise doesn't just disappear. It transforms, it teaches, it warns. The Green Sahara died because a planet wobbled on its axis, because rain followed the sun, because nothing, not even paradise, lasts forever. Our ancestors watched it happen in slow motion, generation by generation. They adapted, they survived. They built monuments to ensure we'd remember what was lost. And now we stand in their future, looking back at their past, asking the same questions they must have asked as they watched their world transform before their eyes. As the last lakes dried up, as the last trees died, as the grass turned to sand beneath their feet, can paradise be saved or only remembered? The stones at Nabta Playa have no answer. They simply wait, as they have for 7,000 years, pointing at stars that witnessed the death of Eden and the birth of the desert. Silent sentinels in an ocean of sand, marking time, tracking eternity, remembering green. The Sahara was a garden once, a paradise of water and life that sustained humans for thousands of years. Perhaps one day, when Earth's axis tilts again in its eternal dance, when the monsoons shift north once more, it will bloom again. Perhaps our descendants will walk through forests where now only sand exists. Until then, the desert keeps its secrets buried deep. The fogaras remain collapsed beneath the dunes, and the stones keep pointing at the stars, waiting for someone to remember, waiting for someone to understand. The paradise is gone, but the warning remains.